up to the audience, see if you have a question right there, sir. Go ahead.
Hi, my name's M from ExxonMobil. Thank you for the presentation. It was really informative. I didn't hear much about the data play. I understand about the technology, but are there any standards that you guys are part of in terms of the data for the delivery and then as well as the geotag locations?
Yes, so one of the things as far as the data, I always require a data requirements meeting. And what I do is I go through and I see how in-depth they want their imagery, how crisp their imagery is, because the lower and the more clear that they want and how that is geotagged according to their coordinates. I use a lot of different types of technology such as ForeFlight, spider tracks. All of those are plug-and-play methods, and with those methodologies, what they do is they actually keep the drone stabilized, and also helicopters and fixed wings. All of these applications are cross-referenced. But with the drone, they're plug and play. So with the spider tracks, for instance, it lets me know if I'm sitting at my office and I want to see where the drone is located and I want to see how fast it's flying, at what height that's flying. Then it also, we take a KMZ or a shape file, we upload that into ForeFlight, and then ForeFlight, you can actually just program your drone to run. And then, you know, batteries, Tim, I think you talked about batteries. Batteries are still our biggest issue, but ForeFlight, spider tracks, ArcGIS, Esri, drone to map, and remote geodigital. Between those 6, I can about capture anything and collectively get you good data for you to make decisions on.
For those data types, is there a standard that you guys adhere to or conform to, or is it just right now just based on the consultation? And, you know? Yeah,
so it really depends on what the utility or Exxon, whoever, what you're asking for. And as far as standards go, a lot of them don't even know what's out there and available. You know, so a lot of times I'm kind of like taking people by the hand and walking them down the path and kind of talking, this is this capability, this is this capability. Are we trying to take a pipeline for Exxon, and are we trying to map that first? And a lot of times you have to work backwards for the mapping, because that's the very first backbone of any software system, is getting it very well mapped and making sure that those assets have got points, data points.
Thank you.
Okay. We have a kind of a, I didn't mention it in my presentation, but there's a company that I've come to know that has a probably the most comprehensive end-to-end solution for drones. And they basically designed it because their parent company is heavily involved in ports and container operations. Oh, go ahead. Sure.
Hi. Sorry. My name is Sandra Fabiano with Yokogawa. I wanted to ask the Petronas Group, you mentioned wind being an issue with the drones and capturing the methane. With your animal robot, does that help with that situation? Do you use animal to capture that methane that you can't capture with the drones?
I think the animal's purpose is a bit different. It's more towards looking at the operation side, if anything is wrong, abnormal situations, not towards methane. But we could use the animal, actually put a sensor on it and actually go there. But I think it will be a limitation on mobility, because some of the locations, the emission sources are quite high or out of reach of the animal robot.
Out of curiosity, I'm not 100% sure, but maybe any of you can answer it. As far as the wind being so strong, does it affect the drones? Is there something set so that the drones will not fly in certain conditions, or do you have to know that yourself?
That's really a company standard. For us, we do not allow over 15 miles, even if it's gyro stabilized, just because the data capture, it can really mess up the imagery, and you want to make sure the customer is paying, that they're going to get what they pay for.
You got a comment? Or?
Yes, Michael Hoteling from ExxonMobil. I apologize if it's the same question. I may need remedial help in the answer. But I guess the question I'm looking at is, not about the drone. The drone is just the
Tool.
means the end of the tool to capture the data. But in a lot of the imagery and the stuff that you capture, like, from, geolocation or tagging of the assets and where those images were done, and maybe I didn't understand the answer, but I'm really curious of, for a lot of the clients that you work with, is there a growing standard or body by which that geotagging is plug and play with a number of other attributes?
The very first question that we always have to answer is, do we have a shapefile or a KMZ to get us started? And we have to start with that, and sometimes we have to go back and we have to start with the mapping. So once you get it mapped, then all really you have to do is we create the GPS coordinates that basically talks to a satellite, and then that gives us our coordinates along the way.
So is that using like a Google Earth or is there some other, body where you're getting that geolocation standard?
We basically like to LiDAR first, and that will give us down to that accuracy. And that is just calibration. So basically, it floats around up in space, and it's helping us get those geo-references as we're flying down the line to create the map. And basically, that becomes what I'm referring to as your shapefile or your KMZ. And then, after that, you can start your inspections, because then we're going to have that already referenced, the geo-referenced, and then when we're taking pictures or they're running down the line, taking the pictures up, we've got a leak here, all we do is just drop a pin. And then, boom, it interfaces, pushes it down into the database. Once we land, it automatically uploads to your database, to your share file.
I just wanted to do a quick introduction here to something that I came across, a company called Holosky. They had to develop their own end-to-end drone solution for their own operations that their parent company has. So I'd like to ask Matthias if you have any response to that question, or just a quick introduction to your, I think people should know about this solution, because we became aware of it in the last 6 months to a year. It's a pretty impressive solution. So,
thank you very much. We have solved a lot of problems you guys have been talking about. We are a tech company coming from Germany, so we industrialized the use of drones. So we developed industrial drones, meaning they have been built to standards, and we have also developed a mobile robot management software, which is an industry IoT software platform, which is cyber secured according to 62443. So, and what basically it solved is you are able, with our software, with that internet platform, to control more than 100 drones in parallel around the globe, because they are connected via LTE, so which gives you the chance to have BVLOS flights. You can also control mobile robots, moving AMRs, for surveillance, for inspection, whatever you have. And all of that is being tracked and being processed in this IoT platform, and goes into a data lake where you can add the artificial intelligence and stuff like that. And this is where we see the future coming. Let's say the whole process being managed up from insurance, from pilot and down to the maintenance of the batteries and stuff like that. Yeah. All of that being tracked and is then therefore revision proofed when something goes wrong and you need to verify. Yes, I have done everything wrong, everything right, nothing wrong. So. This is, so we should talk, definitely.
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you.
yeah.
Any questions?
I don't know if we answered your question, or yeah.
It's an area.
Right.
I think the industry needs that.
Yeah, it's an area where I think there should be more discussion and clarity, right? Mm-hmm. Because the means of capturing the imagery is great, and if you've heard our discussions around the industrial multiverse, metaverse, or in digital twin, right? Geotagging location becomes critical, particularly when it is among a number of different software platforms.
Absolutely.
Right, and that is an area where we are, I think, at least our company, we're still trying to form our vision around where is it that we need to be advertising from a consumption. here are the platforms that I'm going to use to get down to that, that geotagging, right? Because I think in a lot of cases, we spend a lot of money on imagery capture, et cetera.
Inspection,
but the organization of that data without a bunch of what I would say curation becomes a big challenge.
Yeah.
the
right?
automation and the upload on the share drive.
Yes.
And like I said, I have, for years and years and years, this was like back in the 90s, we were, drones, of course, we didn't have drones, I said yesterday, we just saw those on the Jetsons, right? And we thought maybe one day, right? But back then, we would do like miles, hundreds of thousands of miles with a helicopter with a gimbal onto the bottom of it, and we would send over like piles of hard drives, and then eventually got the thumb, but there's still a mound of them, and I'm thinking, that person is going to sit there for the next 2 years, and by the time that it gets organized into their database, it's time to run another inspection.
Yep, and I think that's an area where, quite frankly, we need, additional help in terms of building out that ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
One other comment I do want to mention, back from, drone, I mean, a lot of the facilities, or if I, look at some of the Boston Dynamics works of, being open in terms of controls that sit on, these mobile devices. Mm-hmm. One of the areas that we continue to kind of share with them from a concern is, control of the robot or drone is one thing, mm-hmm. but then when you're talking about streaming data, because some of these, can stream data versus capture, we need to make sure that we've had that cybersecurity discussion, because I have found some areas where, I'm looking at, I won't say dual honed, but I'm looking at cards that basically have communication and multi-protocols.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, this does not sound the most secure place in terms of protecting someone taking
Mm-hmm.
control of that, device, unbeknownst to myself.
So yeah, this is something really important you're mentioning. So maybe I can talk about my experience. So my mother company is the Hamburg Harbor Logistics AG. We are running the third biggest harbor in Europe. So we are official critical infrastructure of Germany. So if we are not working, we don't even have bananas available in our supermarkets. So that means we are working 24/7, 360 days a year. Only 4 seamen days are off. And that means we are having higher requirements on safety and on cybersecurity. So, and when I got the order from our CEO, Matthias, make drones available for industrial use in critical infrastructures, and I was sitting there and designing my ideas. So what we have in our drones, there's actually an industrial PC inside. So it works from -15 to up to 85 degrees. We have about eight controllers doing safety, integrated safety, according to 61508. And so that means we have been able to develop the complete platform inside the drone on industrial standards. So, so that means the cybersecurity goes down to the lens, let's say, to the camera, and goes directly back into the back end. So it's everything, the video streaming, the first-person view camera, the capturing of photos, of videos, everything is encrypted. We built even the video streaming ourselves. So we do not use any media server which is available in the market, because why? I was telling my guys, imagine the tank farm in the Hamburg Harbor is burning. The Ministry of Home Affairs will call me up, Matthias, bring your drones up into the air and let's check where we need to evacuate people, where the rescue teams need to enter the fire, kind of thing. And then the video streaming stops. And then what do you guys think? How much time do I have to tell them that I have released a support request to Ant Server or Vavusa? There's no time. So that's why we built even the media server, everything ourselves, to make sure we have a product available which is working. Because when you think about installing a PCS or DCS system, it's the same with drones. We have an operation center, and if it's there, it will sit there for a couple of years. And that is important to know. So it's a process management tool for mobile robots, for driving, swimming, and flying robots, and all of that is cyber secured. We can actually definitely say, this is your data, this is sitting there, where do you want to have it? Give us in our data lake. And we are calculating these 3D images inside. We're having artificial intelligence developed ourselves for our container cranes. So I'll give you an example of that. This is more than 2,000 tons of steel, a container crane. So it has to be inspected twice a year and 57 neuralgic points. So what we are doing with the camera, with a high resolution, we're using Sony Alpha 7R, if you guys know that.
Yeah.
So it has 61 million pixels, and we are flying from above, let's say, 20 meters away, and we need to zoom in down to the rust. So we are capturing the photos. The artificial intelligence shows us the growth of rust, scratches in molding, and all this kind of stuff. So, and when we are having more than 60 of these cranes twice a year, that means 120 inspections. And so we are doing the inspection of this crane in 3 hours with our fully automated drone. Instead of having 3 climbers or 5 climbers, 1 or up to 2.5 days. So this is where quality, efficiency, and safety is being served by drones.
And another thing too, a comment, one of your competitors, they got themselves really in a bind with cybersecurity because they had hired a drone company that was actually using repeaters to and basically it wasn't encrypted, and then all of that pipeline information ended up overseas. It was just, it was a big deal. So anytime that any of you are working with someone that is going to use any repeaters to stream your data, that is a no-no. That's just, yeah, exactly. And then another thing I think that would be important in your industry is that whatever you use and whatever data capture there is for your engineering staff, you want to, in particular, and I'll be glad to have a conversation, but you in particular will want to be able to bring that pipeline into a 3D platform to where a PLS CAD, that they would be able to revolve around that exposed circumference. And I think that that would be very important for your engineering staff.
Yeah, it sounds like, Michael, that there's definitely some follow-up, because as ARC, I'd like to try to help reach out to some of the drone folks to try to see if there is anything existing. If not, what can we do to get that initiative started? Because I definitely think you're hitting a nail on the head. That's.
But I think the ASME community has also been asking the same questions, right? I think as an industry,
Yeah.
I'm not sure we know the answer yet, right?
Right.
But we do know that in the future, this will be a critical component of
Right.
our overall
Yeah.
transformation, right? And the key is, how do we make sure we don't have to relive cybersecurity all over
Right.
again? We talk about the data, and I'm glad you're talking about it, because it's critical to where it's not just about the image, getting it to where it can use the image.
And you got to remember that drone is a tool. Helicopters, flying bucket trucks. They're just tools. They're no different than a hammer, a wrench, or whatever, a bucket truck. You know, they're tools. That's right, exactly. But one of the things about the pipeline industry is that if they will pay attention to what has happened on our 500 and 750 lines, that will keep you from making the same mistakes, because they are very interconnected. They are definitely kissing cousins. So the good thing is that most of the mistakes have already been made. So as long as you know someone that is very integrated in that industry, they ought to be able to keep you out of trouble.
Is this an area, again, if I think of cross industry, I know the Defense Department and all the discussions that we're talking has likely plowed some of this ground already.
They have. And then to different states, you're definitely going to have some different state PSC, PUC embodiment that you're going to need to get through to do certain things, but, you're going to have critical points that need to be mapped. And I just think, when you have the right language in front of them, you can move through that relatively easy.
Thank you.
That's a great, great, great topic. I appreciate the back and forth, and I'm glad Matthias was here to give us his perspective, because I really suggest that you check out Hala Sky, HHLA Sky, and this is ARC doesn't plug company, but I was really impressed with what they have, and I think it's, especially when you can talk about, controlling, over 100 drones remotely, that's, I haven't seen that by anybody else. Clearly, that's pretty, of course, they were, ex-Siemens guys, so they're over engineering. But anyways, I really want to thank everyone for staying with us here. We went a little bit over here, and I want to thank my great panel of speakers, and I really hope you enjoyed the conference, and there'll be lunch outside, so thanks again.